SWOT analysis kind of panelist. It's really helped with our lobbying efforts with the government. Our one that we did a month ago on kind of the retail industry, we then sent a letter to Minister Schweitzer and got a response just before I went on holidays. So it's encouraging to see some of their reactions to what it is that you guys are saying and what it is we need to share on behalf. As you are aware, and hopefully have seen in the newsletter, I have sent a couple letters to Minister Kenney, specifically around some of the issues with the fitness. So I'm excited to hear about today. Tara, did you want to say any quick words?
Yeah, within it's so interesting in our business that I work in. We work with companies across all industries, and certainly there's certain industries, yours being one of them, that has just had challenge after challenge, and it's been a emotional roller coaster. I can't even begin to understand what you've been through in your businesses. So, as the voice of business, the Chamber really genuinely wants to be there to support. We found that when we got groups together that shared the same similar pain and challenges, it was good to kind of bounce ideas off of each other, but then you never know what we can maybe bring and become your advocates. So thank you very much for joining us today.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Tara. We have 5 people that are going to be speaking today. So I'm going to give everybody, I'm going to time it, but I don't want to, because some of the best conversation kind of comes out of what we get from everybody. But I'm going to kind of keep an eye on things. So everybody has, about, we'll say 7 to 8 minutes to share, and then some questions to follow. And then at the end, we'll get together and do some more questions at the end. So I'm going to have Joel first, if you wanted to unmute, Joel, and just kind of go through the SWOT analysis.
Sure, you bet.
Thank you.
Okay, I've never done a SWOT analysis, so this is my best crack at it, but I'll start with our strengths. So I guess obviously some of this, I took like a granular approach to what I felt was more the fitness industry in general. And obviously some of it is a little more directly on how we have been able to operate over the last 14 months or so. So our strengths are, we were able to pivot online, and we've had online coaching, if you want to call it that, for the last 14 months. We actually personally saw this coming before we got locked down last March. So we actually had it in place before we were officially locked down. And really what it taught us over the last year of doing this is that what really matters is delivering results and why you do it, not necessarily how you do it. And that's been a big thing for us, especially when we can teach clients why we're doing certain things. Then they don't get too caught up in exactly how we're doing it. Because obviously over this last year or so, how we've been doing it is a lot different than in the past. That being said, in the same breath, obviously clients enjoy doing things a certain way. And so it's hard to keep this way forever, which ultimately is somewhat of a weakness. Strengths, I would say, even though it's been an extremely challenging year, we have been able to add new clients. We've got over 60 clients starting with a challenge that we have starting in a week across our 3 locations, which is great. That being said, it's a grind. I couldn't even tell you how much harder it is to get that kind of registration compared to where it was prior to COVID. And so it is possible, but it's extremely challenging to try to gain new clients in this environment. We never closed over the last 14 months. We just shifted how we offered that service, and being able to do that, I think, was a strength in the fitness industry. Is although we've had to pivot a lot of times, pivoting is a challenge, but it's not impossible. And I do think that's a strength of the industry. And we really doubled down on building relationships. And that's really what we have felt to be a real strength of us and the fitness industry. At FitBody, we're a coaching program. And so that we've always relied on relationships, but we've really doubled down on that over the last 13, 14 months, which is, we've seen a huge positive repercussions from doing that. So those are our strengths. Weaknesses, having to incur, do you want me to just blast through this and then take questions at the end? Is that the idea? Okay, cool. Having to incur lease payments while remaining closed has obviously been a challenge. we have 2 Fit Body boot camps in Calgary, and obviously each situation is a little different. We are able to defer payments there, but then we've had to increase our payments over the next 12 months to make up for that difference. And obviously now having higher payments in the arguably the most challenging time of the industry is definitely a challenge. So that's been a big struggle. Remaining closed is really, I would say, the only thing that's holding us back right now. And I'll go into a little more detail when in the threat section, but definitely right now, if we were open, I think a lot of places would be able to start to gain back what they've lost. And that's the biggest thing holding us back right now, is just having our doors closed. I also think one of the negative narratives, which again, I'll dive into more details in the threats, is the government, how they've approached the fitness industry, and the data isn't there to support that it's unsafe and all these sort of things. Yet that's the narrative that they keep speaking of. And unfortunately, it causes a negative effect and just a negative approach to what people perceive fitness as and perceive gyms as. And that's arguably what I believe might be one of the biggest threats in the upcoming year, is just some of that perceived notions of the fitness industry. And then another weakness, I would say fitness isn't like other industries where once you're open, you can just quickly get back to normal. It takes a while to build back membership. So unlike retail, where if you're just open and all of a sudden people can come back in, with fitness, you can't just like have everybody come back in. It takes time to build up that membership that's been lost. So to gain back what has been lost isn't going to happen in 1 month or 2 months or 3 months. It's going to take a long time to do that. And now a lot of fitness facilities are operating at a deficit, and it takes time to build that. And unfortunately, a lot of clients, like once clients go, they're usually lost for forever. And so even, some clients have probably told various gyms that like, hey, once you're open, I'll be back. The reality is some of them will be, but some of them won't be. And that's just the nature of the industry. Okay, opportunity. I honestly believe there's a huge opportunity to serve the public as the restrictions get lifted. Unfortunately, the majority of the public, they've gained weight, they've stopped physical activity, they've decreased their health. And people, I think some people recognize that. You would hope that obviously this situation has opened up people's eyes to the importance of their health, and hopefully they prioritize that. And so I do think that there's a huge opportunity, and people are going to be looking for it once we have the capability to deliver that service to clients. And I also think that, some people, we've had online stuff. Some people have done things online, and well, some people will continue to enjoy that environment. At least what the experience that I've had talking with people is they much prefer an in-person environment. So yes, some people will stay online arguably forever, but a lot of people they've kind of been there, done that, and now they're waiting to get back in and do things in person with real people. And then last is the threats. I really think there's 3 main threats right now. Obviously, the most obvious one is just being closed makes it extremely challenging to gain clients, let alone offset churn. So just, the gym business model is every month you're going to lose a certain amount of clients. It's never going to be zero. And then each month you hope to at least add that and arguably a little bit more so you can grow as a facility. But being closed has made that almost impossible, where the churn is still there. You're still going to lose clients, but being closed makes it almost impossible to bring new people in. Number 2 is spacing restrictions. And this is a little more specific to us and group fitness, but spacing restrictions makes it challenging because sometimes it's hard to even serve the clients that you have to get enough people into your facility, let alone be able to bring in new people and then try to gain back what you've been lost. So our facility in Lethbridge isn't too bad because it's a big one, but our other 2 in Calgary are smaller. And so we can only get 10 to 12 people in at a time, which makes it extremely challenging to not only serve your clients, but be able to try to bring in new ones. And then the last one I've kind of hinted at, and I actually arguably think it might be the biggest one, and that's just public perceptions of gyms and studios being unsafe. And the government has taken this position that gyms are unsafe, and we've been closed 3 times because it's a area of high risk when the data doesn't support that. So now in the public eyes, some people are great with it, but definitely some people now, think it is a more dangerous environment. And I think that's going to be a bit of an uphill battle. And if it's the one thing that I'm looking from government or health officials in the near future is that they change that narrative and promote people need to get healthy and promote that they need to do this to better their health and promote that gyms and studios and all fitness in all capacities is safe. And I think that actually needs to be the biggest priority from government and health officials. So that's my SWOT analysis. I guess questions, if there's any questions or comments.
No, thank you, Joel. There's, I always love, these events are so intriguing to me just seeing everybody's point of view. And I appreciate how you just said the narrative of the government that's been created. You know, we need to change that. We need to show the important impact that this industry has on not just on our economy, but on our community and on our people. So thank you for stating that. If you want, we can ask some questions now, or we can kind of move through quick and then open the floor for more roundtable kind of discussion at the end. If anybody, does that work well? Okay, then I'll move on. Thank you, Joel. I'll move on to Sandra. Oh, Sandra.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Good. Okay. This is actually one of my first SWOT analysis evaluations as well, since I took it in school. So I'm going to read a little bit more than just speak as Jared did. So bear with me with that. And you'll see a little bit of overlap here and some repetition as well. So I think as we all speak, you'll see some common threads through all of the different gym scenarios that we have and how this has affected us. So Kinetic Indoor Cycle Fitness, we've been open, just a quick background, we've been open since 2014. We're Lethbridge's first indoor spin and indoor row studio. So remember that we're really a high intensity kind of group fitness studio. Our membership base is vast, anywhere from high school children to seniors alike. We offer class passes and memberships and all the such. So currently, due to the COVID government restrictions banning all indoor group fitness classes, our doors are closed. We do offer personal training, one-on-one sessions. We're going to talk about that a little bit in the SWOT analysis. And although we would love our business model to be the same, we definitely have had to make some modifications due to COVID. And so here's our SWOT analysis on the state of Kinetic Indoor Cycle and Fitness 6.5 years later, right in the midst of a global pandemic. I think one of our biggest strengths is our membership base. We hear this word being thrown around quite a bit, community, but Kinetic does have a very, very strong community. And luckily, because of our business model really is client experience plus relationships plus value equals what you're going to get out of Kinetic. And because of that, we've built that community. Thankfully, due to COVID, with COVID restrictions, we've had a lot of our members still pay their membership, even though we've had our doors fully closed for almost about 10 months out of the 13, 14 months that COVID's been with us. So without a doubt, I'd have to say that's one of our strengths. COVID has helped us really kind of keep track of our members. So we do continually check on our members. We do wellness checks. So whether that's just a quick text or a phone call or an email, you know, when you're open for business, you can tell from people how they're doing, whether they're coming in the door and you can see them, or if you haven't seen them, then you know something is, you know, maybe has gone wrong. And without them being in person, that's been a little bit harder, but we are still accomplishing that. And yeah, us too, we pivoted right after the first closure to offer an online delivery of fitness. So in our first closure back in March, we just started up a private Facebook page for all members that have kept their membership or that have active class passes. And that's the first portal through which we delivered some of our fitness and health and community challenges and such. So our strengths were kind of that, but the weaknesses, I would have to say, predominantly are the non-negotiable expenses, kind of like what Joel spoke of. For us having been closed for so long, and we own the building. So, you know, whether our doors are open or whether our doors are closed, we're paying mortgage, we're paying property tax, we're paying utilities to keep the heat and the water to the building. We're paying insurance for the building, liability insurance, because you can't get rid of that. And the list goes on, snow removal. So unfortunately, these expenses will still incur whether we're completely open, partially open, or completely closed. And I think by far that's been our biggest barrier to stop us from moving forward. So I'd love to see us back open to full capacity so that it's not such a hardship financially. I think another weakness for us was just a learning curve on delivering fitness virtually. So I don't know how anyone else, how Joel found it, but it wasn't something like, oh, we're ready to go, press play, everything just worked perfectly. Well, it doesn't, you know, from having the correct equipment, having the right bandwidth of internet speed that's coming in, having enough storage on your computer and all that stuff. So that was a huge learning curve, and what I think was making the pivoting a little bit challenging. And also for me personally, it was a change in my job title. So I was a business owner, fitness instructor, and manager before, and a lot of my job was social. And now I'm a computer technician, videographer, and video film instructor kind of thing. And it's really emotionally, that's been quite difficult for me to accept, because that's not what I signed up for, right? And so that's been a hard adjustment for sure. Opportunities. So these alternate methods of delivering fitness to our members has definitely been an opportunity during COVID. However, I'll be talking about how that falls into the threats as well. So our methods of delivering fitness kind of grew and changed as with each closure. So what started out with just Facebook Live classes went into a video on demand platform to live streaming classes. So there's been a lot of learning with that, and but it has been a great opportunity. So with video on demand, now we're able to have an additional revenue stream, which has helped a little bit and has provided fitness to members and non-members, which we're hoping will, when we do reopen, bring some new members in who had never heard or tried Kinetic before. So opportunities. With personal training being allowed in person, we also kind of pivoted that and we've been doing virtual personal training through Zoom or Facebook Live. We find that some people are still not comfortable, even though they're allowed to come in person for training, that they're just still not comfortable coming into the building and working one-on-one with a trainer. And our last opportunity was, we were lucky enough to be able to rent out our equipment. So I didn't do it during the first closure. Anybody who has a gym knows that our equipment is like our babies, right? And so we put a lot of care and we spent a lot of money on the equipment. And the last thing we want to do is, let them leave the building and hope that they come back in the same condition in which they left. So, but it has provided an opportunity for a bit more of a revenue stream during our closure, thankfully. So my threats, I think definitely what Joel spoke of, the public perception. And I feel, and I don't know if this is, if you guys could sense it too, but spin studios are getting a bad rap with respect to COVID. And, as soon as there's been articles, there was just one out on Global News about, high intensity, this, spin studios, that, huge outbreaks in spin studios. And it's always spin studios. So we have a big hole to dig ourselves out of. We need help with that as well. Just changing that perception that I don't know of any any COVID transmission in either of the two spin studios or any of the places that have spin bikes here in Lethbridge. So that was one. sorry, but by far the biggest threat also for us is the closures, but also the unrealistic allowances that the government places upon our reopening. And by that, I mean, every time the government shuts us down and then allows us to reopen, there's certain restrictions, certain little caveats that we have to follow. So the first time fitness studios were allowed to offer only one-on-one personal training, or 2-to-1 if they came from the same household. Well, that's great, but personal training, as we all know, is very, very expensive. So it's not accessible to a lot of people, and nor does everyone like it, because it's kind of, it's intimidating for some versus just coming to a gym, doing your own thing, or blending into a large group fitness class. The second lifting of restrictions allowed fitness studios to reopen under limited class size and the physical distancing problem. So were we excited to open with this restriction? Well, absolutely. But was it the most practical thing for us? Not at all. Our studio runs on a limited number of spots per class already. So pre-COVID, many of our regular sized classes were luckily full with wait lists, and at any given hour we could fit about 72 people in all 3 of the classrooms. With the lifting of restrictions, that number was slashed to 28. So that's 39% of our capacity that we are allowed to operate under. Now, the flip side of that was our operational costs didn't decrease. So we had to run with the same staffing, the same hours, and if anything, operational costs were higher with, PPE, extensive cleaning, and having to space out classes in order to clean in between classes. So we were, noticing members were starting to get frustrated because there weren't enough classes on the schedule. And if there were classes, they weren't able to get in. So we were putting restrictions on the number of classes that they could take in a week. And that has never had to have been done. So they were putting their membership on hold until restrictions get lifted. And so we're noticing that as well with that second lifting of restrictions. And then this last one, lifting of restrictions number 3, fitness studios were allowed to open to deliver low intensity classes, and members and staff had to wear masks. Well, as I had mentioned earlier, we're predominantly a spin and row studio. So about 80% of our classes are high intensity. And that's what people who come to Kinetic come to expect. So you take that away and you strip 80% of our classes. Well, of course, we did pivot. So we sat there and we changed our schedule. We changed our offerings. We did that, and we were so excited to open up. We opened up the schedule, and we were met with kind of a disappointing result. We did not fill up all of our classes. We were watching the classes attendance and not seeing what we had hoped. So it's not what Kinetic members want. So it wasn't feasible for us. So as was the mask mandate, a lot of people just said, I'm not going to come to work out at Kinetic until the mask mandate is lifted. So I guess that those are some of our threats, in addition to also being able to regain members, regain our old members, and to be able to attract new ones as well. So in this 14-month period, people have had to make adjustments on their own. So they're working out from home. They've all purchased, a lot of them have purchased equipment at home. So ask anybody, they've got a rower, they've got a bike, they got elliptical, they have treadmill, they have weights. When Costco weights go on sale, everybody buys them. Like they're equipped at home. They're used to going to work out at home. So it's going to be a little harder when, it's minus 40 degrees. Are they going to want to come to FitBody, Anytime Fitness, or Kinetic, or are they just going to go down in their basement? So it's going to be a little harder to attract people to come to work out in our facilities. So I think just, moving forward, that's some of the help that I'd like to see the government with, like getting money for wage subsidy or rent subsidy. That's one thing, but the long-term effects of having been closed for so long is what I'm worried about. I'll give you one more example before I go. We work on both monthly memberships, but class passes as well. And so we often have class pass sales, and we actually had a really good class pass sale the day before our November closure. And then we close down. So what's happening is that with every single closure, these class passes that we sell have a 1-year expiry date. But if we're not open, it's not fair that their passes will expire. That's, you know, that's like cash, right? And so they should be able to still use these class passes for a year. So we keep extending them and extending them and extending them. So now we have class passes that we will honor from 2019 and probably up until with expiry dates of 2022. So that's going to hit our bottom line really, really hard when we reopen. So yeah, that's what our SWOT analysis is.
Well, thank you, Sandra. I'll move right into Andrea next.
Hi, I hope everyone can hear me all right. So my name is Andrea. I own Lethbridge Gymnastics Academy with my husband, Jamie. We opened fall of 2019, and then right into COVID 5 months later. This is also our first SWOT analysis. Jamie did know what it was. He experienced it in business school. So our strengths as a gymnastics club, gymnastics in general has really crappy social media. One thing that we have done and that I did from day one is our social media is on point. And that's honestly where most of our leads come from. And that's where most of our staff comes from actually as well. We're consistent. We are very personal. People know who we are. People know our staff, to ensure that we have those connections. So when people sign up, they already feel like they're part of our gymnastics family before they even come in the gym. And some of our other strengths are we offer classes from babies to seniors. There's no other gymnastics club in Alberta that does that. We have baby gymnastics that starts 2 weeks old, like as soon as you feel well enough to get out of the house. It's one of our most popular classes. We literally have demand for it every single day of the week. So much demand that we had to split it into 2 classes, baby gymnastics on the mat and baby gymnastics on the move. So from crawling to walking, and then those that are just hanging out and looking at you. We are the only club in Lethbridge with 3 competitive tracks. So we offer men's competitive, women's competitive, and trampoline and tumbling. And we are the only high performance club. We now have high performance athletes, which is exciting for 2021-22, which is massive for Lethbridge. And you know, we have big goals and dreams for gymnastics in Lethbridge, and we have some younger boys that are on the elite path as well. One of our strengths is our staff. We have highly trained staff, and we really nurture their growth. We pay for all of their training. Any class that they want to do, further certifications, whether it has to do with gymnastics or not. If it's something that has to do with the development of children, or someone wants to help me with marketing, like we'll invest in our staff. And we know that a lot of them aren't going to stay with us forever and ever. Not everyone is a life coach, but we want everybody to leave us better than they came, whether that's education or just general life lessons. One of our other strengths is our reviews on Google and social media are on point. So you go there and you get different reviews from all all of our different programs, whether it's competitive, baby gymnastics, regular, recreational. Um, so, so yeah, those are our strengths. What else? Okay, so our weaknesses. Our website sucks personally. So that's something we are working on. And I'm really good at the social media piece. Websites are not my thing. So one of our other weaknesses, reason why I'm doing this from home, is because our internet where our facility is horrid. We have, first of all, you can't, I think me and Jamie are the only ones that can get our phones to work in the gym. And when we had TELUS Wi-Fi, it sucked even in the gym. Like I would have to connect and disconnect. I'd have to turn my Wi-Fi on and off my computer until it finally worked. So when we saw the chamber is hosting these town halls for the next couple of days, we were so excited because it was going to cost to get fiber optic internet. It was going to cost like, I don't know, $30,000 or something ridiculous. So, so our, you know, and we play music for the kids, and we like to do, in the summer, we do movie days with our summer camp kids, and we need good internet for those things. One of our personal challenges, and this isn't just us, this is gymnastics all over Alberta and likely Canada, is we have a membership that we have to pay. Well, we have to pay, but also athletes have to pay for every year. However, if like the year is the AGF year, Alberta Gymnastics Federation year, is July to July. But if I have a kid that starts in October, their insurance membership fee is the same as if they started in July. So it doesn't go year to year, it goes, and they don't prorate it. So it's a giant pain, and we as clubs have been fighting it for years. But it's with, you know, no success there. One of our weaknesses is definitely equipment and cost of equipment. So gymnastics is not, we can buy certain things, smaller things here and there. But for instance, we need a new floor, and those are about $25,000. So, and I don't think that folks coming into a gymnastics facility really understand how much things are. A crash mat is about $1,000. And, you know, a new trampoline that we need is $15,000. You know, so these are massive investments, and our program is growing substantially. It's almost doubled since we reopened in February. We need the new equipment. Internet. One of our weaknesses right now is not being able to spot. In gymnastics, showing kids how to do things, holding them in handstand, fixing them, spotting tougher skills on balance beam is something that's really important for kids as they start doing tougher skills. And that's definitely one thing that that we are lacking as a whole right now, and everybody is very frustrated with it. Opportunities. The opportunities that exist for gymnastics, and I think most children's sports anyways, are the post-COVID resurgence. People want to get their kids out. We're seeing a little bit of it right now. People want to get their kids in things, and while it's a blessing, one of our weaknesses is also the restrictions on space and distancing. For gymnastics in particular, the post-Olympics resurgence, a lot of people just plan to, it kind of depends on the size of facility, but people's numbers double in the fall after the Olympics. Kids see gymnastics and they want to do it. So that's definitely an opportunity that we will take advantage of. Some of our innovations that we've done is we've decided to include the AGF fee that I spoke of into their monthly tuition. So we plan for people to be with us for 2 months, and so we include that. I've never, no other clubs do that that we know of, and so it just kind of allows people not to have that extra cost. Like, oh, I have to register and then I have to pay $60 more. Do I want to do that? Is it worth it? So we just include that. Last year when we closed in March, we immediately jumped to Facebook Live. Our first Facebook Live, we had over 250 people on it. And then after that, kind of kept it consistent around 100 people. And it was just themed lives for kids with kids at home, for parents with kids at home, and just needed a break that they could just put their kids in front of some people talking and know that they were going to learn something. Our threats right now, obviously the ability to not plan, or the hesitance to be able to plan. Typically in gymnastics, what we do is if we have a class that's full, we will open another one. But right now, it's the hesitancy to do that because we don't know if we're going to be closed in a week or tomorrow. And that's always always in the back of our head, like, oh, we're going to get more restrictions. And we offer adult gymnastics as well. And that's obviously not running right now, which is, 2 classes that we run a week that we have consistent people at. And it's really frustrating to not be able to run those classes or plan for our regular classes. Another one of our threats is the lack of coaches. As we grow, there's definitely a lack of coaches or people that are interested in coaching gymnastics in Lethbridge. And it's really hard to market. I think because folks think gymnastics is very niche and you need to know all of these things to be able to go and coach it, when in reality, we hire for the person, and not I can teach anybody to coach little kid gymnastics. It's just the desire and the love of kids to do it. We are good right now, but I can see in September we're going to need probably 2 or 3 more coaches. Distancing is definitely a threat. We're running at 6 kids in a class right now. Typically that would be 8. So that's a 33% increase. And if you times that by 10 classes, that's a lot. That's a lot of kids that we could serve, and families that we could serve, and that's not happening.
Andrea, I hate to cut you off, but is there any last final things just so we could get everybody?
Yeah, so one of our other threats is the government's parking waivers. We had our historic win of parking waivers last October, but that's only 3 years. So we're like, yay, we got it. What if they don't give it back to us in 3 years? So just some of those city restrictions on, parking in buildings and that sort of thing that needs to be revamped.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Andrea. I'll give a quick plug to Jamie and Andrea. My youngest went to nationals as a gymnast, and I can really speak to how well they are with kids. So thank you for that. Amber, let's move on to you.
Hey. Okay, I'll try and plow through this as quick as I can. I guess we kind of bring a different aspect. We're more the retail side of the fitness industry. So thankfully, we have been able to stay open the entire time. We did see some major impact, especially with the first shutdown. People really clammed up at home, and then with the gyms being open, I feel through the first shutdown, people were kind of like, well, if I can't work out, what's the point of taking all the supplements and keeping that health side going as well? I feel some of our strength is definitely the team that we have in place. Super supportive. I know I have 2 locations. I have one in Red Deer and I have one in Lethbridge. And my Lethbridge team runs itself. They're really great. I get wonderful feedback from customers that come in. We love having customers come in, ask us all the questions, and leave feeling like they've learned something instead of just being handed a product and told to take it and not the why. It's really a family with our staff, and I feel that's made a huge impact and a huge strength. We make a point of investing back into our business. We like to have the huge inventory and stock. It makes a big deal as we've switched as of the beginning of the year to a different shipping platform, that if your local store is out of it, it pulls inventory from the next available store. And between my Red Deer and Lethbridge locations, it has been huge as we have a huge Purolator delivery zone. So it does cost us a little bit more just to keep our inventory as wide and selective as possible. But in the long run, we've definitely and will continue to see increases in our orders there. We have a franchise-wide online training program as well as branded product training, which I find is really streamlined staff training, which has been really nice. We've seen, I guess a bonus is we've made some more kind of at-home workout branded items, and we've definitely seen an increase in those since everyone is trying to do those Zoom classes from home and needing a few extra items to do so. Some of our weaknesses, we found some of the government reliefs and subsidies a little unattainable because we were open and we didn't shut down. Through the first lockdown, not so much through the second and third, I feel people are a little bit more confident that, you know what, things are opening back up and I still want to do me, we still want to stay healthy. So we haven't seen through the second and third, not a huge loss in customers. We have noticed though that the average cost of tickets have definitely gone down. We feel people are a little uncertain in spending as much money as they used to with the supplement side. Some other weaknesses has been the government subsidies available to employees and staff. More so in my Red Deer location, I had all but one staff leave because they can make more at home doing nothing than working and being out. So that's definitely been a struggle, keeping staff when they can make more at home. So we found that to be a downside. Opportunity, I feel like everything's just going from in-store, in-person, and moving to online. So we have been focusing more on that. We still love seeing people come in, and we just had our huge sale at the beginning of the month, and it was different, needing to have someone control the door and the traffic flow and make sure that everyone's keeping their distance while shopping. But it was nice to see that we did still have that spaced out lineup out front, and people were eager to come in, eager to visit. I'm really looking forward to gyms opening back up and being able to do gym demos again and just seeing more people. I miss the social side instead of people breezing in and breezing out. As far as threat goes, I'm going to really focus on the supply and demand side of that. In the over 4 years we've been open, there are some vendors I've never seen a single back order from, and now it's a quarter of our order. We've I think at least 3 this year, smaller branded companies have gone completely under due to COVID, which sucks to see. You don't want to see people closing. We have some brands and products that we've been out for months, and then customers are coming in and getting frustrated. Well, when's it going to be in? And just saying, I don't know, is frustrating because people want an answer. Again, with the threats and the government assistance for making it profitable to stay at home, which I understand that those assistances are needed. But it's definitely frustrating that the amount they've put into them has drawn staff away from working entirely. I think that is about it. Oh, as well as threats for the focus like Amazon. I think I've seen 4 price matches from Amazon alone, and all those online platforms that are beating prices in store. And making the competition a little bit more so, not just physically within your zones, but the broader online as well.
Thank you, Amber. And when you were speaking, I actually, my internet went a little bit crazy and I popped out and then popped back in. So I can't imagine, Sandra, you doing a fitness class on this and it popping in and popping out. That would be extremely frustrating. Like you said, change to a website expert. Just maybe wasn't in our job description at the time, like you say. All right, Shane, I'd like to invite you to speak.
Perfect. My name is Shane Garner. My wife and I own Anytime Fitness. We're located at 340 University Drive on the west side. So we offer more of a commercial fitness facility. So it would be memberships, personal training, group classes. So maybe that will provide a little bit more context of where my viewpoint's coming from. I'll try not to get too granular or repeat what the other guests have already said. But I mean, this part is repeating, but we're being told to pivot so much to offer online. I know that's what corporate's telling us to do. Virtual classes are a big component. Everybody's already mentioned that. But I mean, that's an entirely different business model. I mean, for us to be able to become profitable with an online presence only is ridiculous. That's laughable. We do one-to-one training right now as permitted by the government, which again it's a source of income, but not even close to becoming profitable. And obviously we have some subsidies. Everybody is, I'm sure, has aware of that and utilize them the best they can. But I mean, those in itself are laughable as well, because it's like a blanket approach. A lot of the cases, the most recent one was $10,000, which isn't half our rent. And we're not that big. Like there's much bigger companies than us. They're big, small companies, right? And unfortunately, if for us and bigger, or it just doesn't do anything. So it does create some real struggles. And I know a lot of people that are much smarter than me are starting to see these patterns emerge and see that you're not in control of your business at all. Apparently, it's the government's in control of your business. So it's how do I mitigate that risk? And a lot of them are pushing hard into that online platform. Like, why am I paying property taxes? Why am I hiring staff? Why am I paying staff Why am I providing amenities for the community when I'm being punished by the government? And it turns out it's not my business at all. It's just the government's business that I operate for them, right? Because I don't even get to decide when I get to do business. And the only way I can become profitable and make it worthwhile is to do business, which I'm not allowed to do anymore. So it's quite a mind shift that we've encountered is do we even want to be here anymore? Should we be here anymore? Is it the smartest solution for us? We operate some businesses in some other industries, and it basically fitness would be the least attractive to us at this point, as well as hospitality and a few others. But you know, for the strength, this is what we're finding is this really is like how you know, strategically aligned were you going into this, right? Did you have a lot of debt? Were you at the wrong place at the wrong time? You know, and essentially it's like how deep are your pockets too? How long can you hang on? Because I don't know anybody that's not going into a loss. The average commercial fitness facility is losing between $15,000 and $30,000 a month. So that's an enormous loss. And I know we fall into that. We've, you know, the amount of money that we've lost over this course, at some point, you're like, when do I step off this train? So you know, I guess that's quite a negative perception on the strengths, but that's really it, is all the strength that they're telling us to do and try to incorporate. It's laughable, right? I mean, it doesn't do anything for us. It's a slow bleed out. I mean, I'll try to provide a bit more data and maybe a little bit less about us. But like, as far as like how this is affecting small business and the fitness industry in particular, is like the first two shutdowns were devastating, with 1 in 6 businesses considering permanent closure, an estimated 181,000 permanent small businesses closures expected across the country. And like this is hit home, is on average, Canadian small businesses have taken on an average of $170,000 in related debt. And that's the thing, is like the majority of the businesses out there have some sort of debt already on books. Profit margins are supportive of that, but now layer on another layer of debt that you're going to have to service at some time in the future, and all of a sudden it's unsustainable. Your profit margins are too thin to continue onwards. So I do know quite a few businesses that have chosen not to take the COVID debt relief loans, even though some of them are forgivable, because they know they're responsible and they know they cannot afford to make those payments in the future, right? Because the profit margins are that slim in their business. So some of these subsidies and things that the general community think we're getting is it's not all there for everyone. I mean, Amber mentioned that as well. If you, God forbid, you operate in lukewarm water where you're not operating at a total shutdown, and you try to make too much of a profit, well, then you don't qualify for the right subsidies. So now you're in this weird limbo of not making enough money to be profitable, but not unprofitable enough to get the subsidies. So you end up treading water in this terrible place. So that would be one of them. The solutions that the government's giving us, these are short-term solutions to at one time was a short-term problem. We've now turned into a long-term problem with the same short-term solutions. So it's clear as mud that apparently we're going to be in this to at least till the end of this year. And there's been no alternative solutions to help us navigate these waters. They're using a blanket lockdown on small business. The data isn't supporting this lockdown on fitness industry. And even the data that they did have is now no longer relevant. It's like contact services aren't the major source of infection. Is like, well, we just spent $7,000 in cost-related expenditures for controlling this that you told us to get. And you know, the taxpayer, I don't necessarily think they realize the consequences that's going to happen for this is the repayment, right? And then like the online shift again, that we're being told to do to incorporate into our business, it's contributing to what experts said will be a permanent change to how the consumer chooses fitness options. I can get into that later, but I mean, that's the reality of it, right? Is like, as a consumer, I'm choosing alternatives, right? Because I have to. And apparently that's going to change the consumer habits. So that's something that we don't even know what's going to happen in the future. I think we can all figure that out. It's going to be exactly what your guests already had said, is that we're not going to get our consumer returning immediately. We see that already. they're being educated that the places that we are hosting are dangerous places that you want to stay away from. So unfortunately, it's going to take quite a bit of time to re-educate the consumer that, oh, it turns out that we're not this breeding ground of infection, right? And we, this is, again, this would be more personal, is I'm sure the other guests have experienced this, but they think that they can turn us on and off like a light switch, and like the staffing, the training, the expenses, and the consumer side of things to try to keep the employees engaged and coming back is like, trust us, we're not going to be closed again. I mean, I've sung that. I feel like the boy who cried wolf is to try to keep our employees engaged and coming back, and not just going on COVID and being like, forget it, right? It takes us 30 days just to get our employees back up to track, up to snuff, operating efficiently, systems being checked. And then we've got the consumer component of it that, we open the doors, and that's a clear message we've encountered, is the consumer is not engaged in our product as they once were because they've been educated that it's too dangerous to show up. So how long that'll take to re-educate them, I don't know, right? The opportunity I mentioned already is like the amount of people that I know that are contemplating shedding the brick and mortar model and going to an online platform because of the increased control of your own business is significant compared to the bricks and mortar that the government gets to decide when you open your doors and not. And unfortunately for us, I mean, we're so geared towards brick and mortar physical presence, the online platform doesn't come close to covering our costs. But it's something that we're entertaining, is like, instead of us expanding operations, we're thinking, should we be reining in? Should we be getting a smaller footprint? Should we have a footprint at all? Should we have only an online presence? Because I like to be in control of my financial destiny, and right now I'm not. I'm just at gunpoint to whatever the government tells me to do and what not to do. And I guess it's really a really big learning opportunity for me, is now I'm aware of what the government can do to my business. As an entrepreneur, my faith in this country, this province is skewed. I would seriously reconsider my options if I had to do this again. If you would have asked any one of these guests as an entrepreneur, is hey, this is possibly what you're going to go through, and this is how your country and province is going to navigate these waters, would you like to do that still? Absolutely not. No way, right? I would choose something smarter and more intelligent than putting myself, my staff, my consumer through all this stuff, right? So I guess is like the opportunity is to pivot into now realizing, what exactly I got myself into. And it turns out that I don't control much of anything, and I'm just hanging on by the nails of my fingers to try to go. And that's really it, is like, how long do I keep fighting for, right? And when I say I mean the small businesses, is there's so many small business sectors being impacted that are probably not going to make this, right? And when I say not make this, I mean, we're talking the end of 21, possibly 22. It's not going well for what's happening right now. And I mean, I guess threats would be, it's not only threats to me, but it's like, what's about the threat to the community? And that's with amenities leaving the community. I know a lot of people want them a severe lockdown, but I don't think, you weigh the two things out, and the financial burden that would incur on small businesses is some of these amenities are going to be leaving the community. Some of these amenities have left the community. So I just think that maybe some of that needs to be rethought. And the continued use of the current measures for lockdowns, it's just unsustainable. I mentioned already some about the subsidies, about how that needs improvement. I don't think I really need to get into that one again. And the big one that hit home for me was the threat of 25% of the fitness consumers surveyed stating they will not be returning to their normal routine. So that equates to like roughly $1 billion that's going to be adjusted and either may return at a different component, or maybe it's not returning at all. But that's for the fitness industry. And when I saw that stat, 25% equating to $1 billion in spending habits that will no longer be there, or it may be there and be modified, that's significant, right? And unfortunately, these are unintentional consequences for what we're going through, but they're consequences nonetheless. And with all these subsidies that are rolling out, Like I said, it's a slow bleed out. It's just like, how long can you last? But the other component is, I think this is just general knowledge at this point, is the amount of financial burden that this has taken on us. And us as people of Canada is like, I think it's a given that we're going to have a provincial sales tax. There's been talk of the land transfer tax, just ways to pay for this enormous amount of financial burden that's being placed on Canadians. Unfortunately, our GDP dropped by 18.2%. Like we have huge problems coming to just the taxpayer, the consumer, aside from the small business component. So there's just so many things happening here that we don't even know the full ramification of. But at the end of the day, the thing that I hope that we can pass along is, like, businesses need to do business to survive. I mean, that's just really it. And I'll try to wrap this up for you, Cindy, here sooner than later. I just had some, as far as recommendations and takeaways from this, or from me, is I feel the Alberta government needs to broaden the eligibility and increase payments for the new grant program. We need this is a huge one. We need lockdown alternatives and increased financial support for small businesses as provinces force us into another round of closure. And that's currently, I mean, we're doing an announcement today at Monday. It's not going well. I could make an assumption that we're probably headed into a stricter lockdown after our case numbers. So, we're a year into pandemic. The government continues to rely almost exclusively on blanket lockdowns. They don't offer us any other tools. Small business has been very loud at asking for alternative tools to navigate this pandemic, and besides lockdowns, because that's not working. And I think we need to urge governments to make use of other tools at their disposal, things like rapid testing alternatives, as well as renewed contact tracing efforts, expedited vaccine rollouts. I mean, that's a whole other conversation of the disaster that is. But I mean, really, I think small business should be urging governments to extend their application deadlines, broaden eligibility, and increase payments to recognize the new impact. So hopefully, like, some of that stuff wasn't too repetitive. And I know it's hard because you got 5 of us that are operating in relatively the same sectors. But that's my takeaway. And like I said, I tried to keep Anytime Fitness maybe not as the primary component here, and small business in the fitness sector as a whole.
No, I really, I appreciate everything that you said. And what I'm learning as we're talking to different sectors is everybody has different pain points and different pressure points, but that commonality and that frustration of, let us do business. We're in business to do business, and we need to operate and function. So, it is a long-term problem with very short-term thinking. Even the newest strategy that they sent out on April 6th, it's around who's immune. Well, potentially, the word potentially is used a lot, and approximately. So now we are wanting through the Alberta chambers, what does potential mean, and what does approximately mean? Because the scale and the stages have changed so often, and like you said, we could have another announcement today. So I hear what each of you are saying, and it's just it's very helpful to get everybody's perspective, because it's all a little bit different. Everybody has a little different point of view, but at the end of the day, economic development and success is what we're looking for. We're not asking for like handouts and this and that. We want economic development and success so we can continue to grow and develop our strong communities.
Yeah.
I see, Sandra, you had unmuted yourself. Did you want to say something?
I just wanted to touch upon that last small and medium enterprise relaunch grant, as Shane had mentioned. I think if we are going to draft something to the government, that was, if any of you were on the town hall for fitness back when they were deciding our fate, that was the biggest thing. Don't worry, we have some financial aid coming your way because you're going to be shut down again. Well, A, it is only $10,000. B, if anyone has actually applied for it yet, it's ridiculous because they're asking us for to compare 2 monthly revenues, and they're both post-COVID. So your first one, which is your high revenue, monthly revenue, is still after COVID. So you're still going to see this huge drop. And then your second one, which is your lower revenue, is post-COVID as well. So there's the difference between low and lower. And so I don't know who's actually gone and applied for it, but I didn't even get the full amount. And I thought, well, that's a kick in the pants, because had they let us pick a month that was a higher revenue pre-COVID to see what it now looks like post-COVID, there would have been a bigger gap. Something needs to be changed with that. And I also agree with Shane and these sudden shutdowns. It's just like, man, you get everything up and running, and then they say to you, you're closed effective tonight at midnight. And you're thinking, what? I just got all my staff back. I just got all my equipment back. I just got the schedule up. I just did everything. And the third thing, which is frustrating, is the change in how they did that path forward. So we're gonna move from step 1 to step 2, and this is all going to be based on hospitalizations. Oh no, just kidding. It's going to be based on the amount of people that are vaccinated. It's very frustrating.
Thank you. And I'm glad you brought up the grant, because that is extremely frustrating, because who wants to compare this March to last March when last March was not wonderful? And it's just doesn't make sense in the equation part of it at all.
It needs to be
Sorry, Sandra. And I know the one, go ahead.
No, just saying that it needs to be reevaluated to have some sort of, I don't know, just a better measuring parameter there. So.
Absolutely. All right. Anybody else want to throw anything out there or say any kind of last thoughts or words? I think, sorry, go ahead, Andrea.
When Shane was talking, one of the things, and I'm sure other business owners found this, like when last summer, we qualified for CERB and stuff in March and April, but this past closure, when we closed, December to end of February, like as business owners, we qualified for zero help. We had somebody actually contact us to pay our rent in February, like our house rent, because we had no money. So we qualified for like zero, and by February we had nothing personally. So that was a struggle. Our employees could access certain benefits, but we couldn't. So that was really hard, and especially if we go into another one, it's likely that will happen again.
And that's the hard part of being an entrepreneur, because there's, you talk about small business, but those small businesses are ran by entrepreneurs who are thinking about the greater good. And, Shane, you talked about money and government costs, and
Uh-oh, she froze. It was a good pose though.
I bet it was going to be a great conversation.
Yeah.
Hopefully she's not still going.
What's that?
Hopefully she's not still going.
Yeah, no.
to me,
Hey, Cindy, I'm going to send her a really fast text. 2 seconds, Cindy. Oh, now.
my internet. See, this is why we need better internet. That's why we actually lobbied the federal government for internet last year, and through the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, and that is what was successful in helping the city of Lethbridge get the money for now with the sharing park and on the north end. So yay, because how many times have we proved today we need better internet? I've been twice during this, so I apologize, but thank you. Anybody else have, oh, Lori. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry, yeah, I just realized I was muted. I just been sitting quietly and listening. I think a lot of people in the meeting probably know me. lot probably only know my name because they get emails from me. But I'm the person at the City of Lethbridge in the Recreation and Culture Department that oversees marketing, communications, and addressing barriers to access for community members to participate in recreation, sport, arts, and culture. So I know it's not a whole lot, but I just want to make sure, and I'll put this in the chat as well. I just want to make sure all of you do know that for people who are currently on EI or CERB, or even more long-term on AISH income support, any kind of funding program or low income, we do have a subsidy, and it's for all ages. It's not for younger people like Jumpstart and Kids Sport, though I do work with Jumpstart and Kids Sport for anybody under 18. And it covers, well, it doesn't cover a lot, but it does cover some memberships or classes for recreation and sport. And so I have quite a number of gyms that I know get emails from me throughout the year. And right now, because of COVID and because the program has been underutilized last year, City Council allowed me to update the policy till June 30th. It's $200 in the first half of the year. And then after June 30th, we're going back to the normal amount, which is $150 a person for the second half of the year. So normally in a year, an individual can access $300 through the city towards their gym membership or classes. And unless they're a youth, if they're a youth, then it's $300 from the city, and it's $300 from Kids Sport, and it's $300 from Jumpstart. So I'll share the link, and if you want to share it with your clientele and on your social media or whatnot. For those who don't know how it works, they just apply on the website. We've moved to an online form, and once a week on Thursdays, I go through them all, make sure they're eligible. Then I just send the gym an email saying I've approved this person for this much money, and we're sending the check on this day. So you know that it's coming, and then you just apply it to their account or classes or fees or whatnot. And for some places, like I know Tara from the Y, that they have their own subsidy, we do ask that they apply for that gym subsidy first, and then I pay the rate over and above that where possible, just because we'd like to fund the most people possible, obviously, in the community that we can. But it is the only subsidy program that can be used anywhere in the community by anybody over the age of 18. So definitely let people know if you know people who are struggling with paying their memberships. And City Council is allowing me to use it for online classes as well, which is a little bit different. It meant a change to the policy. And again, that's been extended to June 30th. And I will go back to City Council and ask for an extension on that again, if it looks like the restrictions are still keeping a lot of things online. So yeah, put it anywhere, put on your website, your social media, newsletters, whatever. Feel free to share that information. They do need to have proof of their like current moment circumstance, but we know that there's obviously more need right now than ever. And I did hear, you know, all the conversation around people are buying equipment and having it at their home. And I am one of those people, but I also will be back in the class as soon as I feel safe. And the only reason I don't is because we actually have a coworker of ours right now who is intubated. So, and he's younger than me. So I'm in the very hesitant right now category, but I'm looking forward to outdoors, and the sun is coming out. I'm like looking at the schedules for outdoor classes here and pretty excited about going back to the gym here right away.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing, Lori. And we'll make sure to throw that in our newsletter, all that information as well, because what I did catch when I was popping in and out of connectivity, I think there's some great opportunities, because you know, I think it was Sandra that said, you know, it isn't one-on-one training's great, but not everybody can afford that. So let's try to get as many opportunities out there to as many people as possible.
Well, and my research, just quickly, just for all of you to know, my research when I created this program in, I think it was about 2014, and I took it to City Council and when they were negotiating operating budget and had them added in. And a lot of the research around subsidy programs show that the recognition that going to a gym or doing an activity isn't just for the physical health, it's for the social and mental health of the individuals. And so I do think that as much as people have bought equipment, there's a lot of people that look forward to doing that workout with their friends nearby or somebody that they kind of know, or to meet new people. And I think that there will be a big return, but I think there's a lot of people like me right now who are kind of nervous with where we're currently at with COVID. but hopefully things will move outside and we'll all be good.
Well, thank you very much. We've gone a little bit over, but that is always great because I always kind of expect a little bit extra because these conversations are important conversations. And I do want you to know that we have been here listening, and we've been very thoughtful in what we are submitting to the government because we believe all business is important and every sector is important. So thank you very much. I want to make sure I get everybody: Joel, Amber, Andrea, Sandra, Shane. Did I get everybody? I think so. And just thank you for your time and your input. And I always kind of feel bad for the person, Shane, the person who goes last, because a lot of stuff's always been talked about. So, it's kind of the bad spot to be put in, but it always usually brings up some really good final statements and clarity. So thank you very much for doing that. And I see Sandra's unmuted again.
Well, I was just going to say thank you. And I thought Shane was a great person to end everything off with. He had a lot of different points that weren't even touched upon. So, yeah.
Right. And I'm glad, this using a SWOT analysis, it's been kind of fun because a lot of people, you think about it at different stages and phases of your business, usually when you do your business plan at the very, very beginning. So I'm glad that it was useful for many of you. So thank you to all of you. I've got a lot of notes and we'll be in contact, and keep going. It's always tough because people say, what do you say? And it's the light switch on and off. It's true. It's on and off right now. And so just, keep going, reach out and ask for help with whatever we can do. And if it's just gathering and sharing information, or even if different things that you guys are doing, if there's stuff we can share, I know like there's different walks and things still happening. If we can help keep your name out there and just show all the great things you're doing, please let us help you do that. That's why we're here. We're here to help you communicate, not and advocate and all those wonderful other things, but we just really want to make sure we're. Oh, Lori, did you still have your hand up? Oh, okay.
So I just put up again, you said something that triggered, sorry. And I'll put this in the links too. I also oversee a website called activelethbridge.ca, which is City Council, part of their active community strategy. And Cindy, when you're talking about like getting people's names out there, we promote it everywhere, and anybody who does recreation or sport can list for free on the website. So make sure that you are on the website. So what you do is you go to activelethbridge.ca, click on, I think it's find an active living opportunity. There'll be tons of icons for every sport you can think of. You find the one that most aligns with you. And when you click on it, at the bottom of the page, it'll say add a new submission or something like that. It's very faint, but when you click on it, it gives you the form, and then I get an email just to approve it, which makes it go live. So it's just another free opportunity to promote your gyms and what you do. And you can pick multiple categories too. You don't have to just be one if you do multiple things. So just wanted to add that. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Well, that's why we're doing this, so we can get as many tools available. So thank you again to everybody, and thank you, Dominica, for helping throw this together and getting a great panel. And we appreciate you all. So thank you very much, and we'll connect soon.
Thanks for organizing this.
Thank you, Cindy.